Hello everyone! Do you know about Japanese beer? From Kirin Holdings Company, Japan is number 7 from global beer consumption in 2008, with 5,108 kiloliter per year. But do you know that Japanese beer consumption has been popular since a long time ago? These are a Japanese beer poster advertisement from around 1920s. I'm Chika and I'm gladly welcoming you to my video presentation about woman image in the Japanese posters advertisement between 1920 until 1940. Advertising as a medium in persuading and influencing someone's action to buy an object has a role in creating the image of a brand. Not a few who do not use woman as the object of product offerings in the advertisement. The depiction of women in the mass media is colored by stereotypes and commoditization or product sales. This can be observed from the advertisement that mostly indulge in women's figures only from the aspect of beauty, elegance, and body. In Japan, between 1920 until 1940, posters advertisement was being used by Japanese leading brewers to advertise their product in the public places, especially cafe and bars that increased in the 1920s. However, beer posters from the 1920s point to the commercial exploitation of the image of women in Japanese culture, along with the increasing number of cafe and bars waitresses. Then the questions are, how was the social background of women in Japan during that time? And how was the image of women that being stereotyped through the Japan's brewer company? In the study, researchers used the theory of gender advertisement from Erving Goffman and Kang to understand how women are weakened by portrayal in the advertisement. This is a qualitative research, thus the data are obtained through the process of reading from various sources which are then analyzed further. Before we head to the main topic relating to Goffman and Kang's theory of gender advertisement, in this video, I would like to present the brief social background of women in Japan related to Japanese beer industry during 1920 until 1940. World War I, which began in 1914, was a stage for the development of financial and services companies, including the mizu shobai industry or the liquor industry. Japanese beer itself is in high demand for export at a time when Western powers were occupied fighting both in Europe and abroad. Not only having a high demand for export, but also in domestic consumption. The cafe and bars business were rife in major cities in Japan, along with the emergence of the urban middle class. Even though having a stumbling block by the government in 1920s and 1930s are being considered offering unlicensed prostitution and violating moral ethics, the government does not completely limit the Japanese beer industry, whereas beer is one of the main commodities because its sale can increase the state tax revenue for Japan's effort in the war with China in Manchuria, which began in 1931. The rife emergence of waitresses due to increasing of the urban middle class, consumerism of beer products, and there was a notion that being a waitress will be paid more than any other job such as nurse, teacher, saleswoman, bus conductor, and telephone operator. After the Great Kanto earthquake on September 1, 1923 in Tokyo and Yokohama, besides has affected the price of Japanese beer to drop considerably due to the countless shops, homes, and business were destroyed. However, the beer industry that managed to bounce back from the earthquake were the Kirin and Dai Nippon beer companies. The Great Kanto also affected on financial crisis that caused many women who previously worked as laborers lost their jobs because their industrial factories were bankrupt. Therefore, these women changed their jobs to become cafe waitresses because they were considered to have higher wages than other jobs. A survey from the Japan Central Employment Agency in 1925, there were 7,319 cafe waiters in Tokyo and 4,230 in Osaka. In 1929, jumped to to 15,559 people working in 6,187 cafes and 1,345 bars. Continue increase to 111,700 in 1936. However, as time goes by, waitresses had other role, which was a maker of sexual attraction. Different from geisha, who have special contract with shop owners to serve customers in the sexual aspect, several factors drive many cafe waitresses to prostitution after working hours. One of them is to collect their fees from customer tips. Cafe owners often encourage them to flirt with customers, sell kisses, and have sexual relations with their favorite customers. Then the atmosphere of the cafe itself that allows men to enjoy the erotic atmosphere openly and easily. Moreover, modern youths want romance and objects for their sexual life provided by cafe waitresses as modang gyaru or modern girl. Relating with woman image in the Japanese beer posters during this period using the theory of gender advertisement by Goffman and Kang, there are 5 categories, namely, first, relative size, which characterized by men depicted taller than women. Based on the biological characteristic in this category, the image of women are figured out that men were superior to women, which can be seen in the difference in height between men and women. Feminine touch. Women was use their hands or fingers to trace an object, to hold items in a protective style, or to guard or just hold the object. Women's hands can be said to be weak and cradle. Then the woman's hands that trust object or themselves in advertisement were considered to be gentle, meek, or something valuable. The image of woman that was figured out from the feminine touch shows that women were gentle and delicate figures. Function ranking. Characterized by women serve men, and men were hierarchically superior in relation to women. Men were likely to act in the lead role. Woman was someone who serves and comforts men. Based on this, it can be concluded that the image of woman figures was that of a male servant and entertainer. Ritualization of subordination, characterized by lowering oneself physically, lying down, or sit on the bed or sofa, reclining body or head, bend knees, body or head canting and smiling. Leaning on an object gives a signal that women were submissive, powerless, and sexually available. Reclining the body or head canting, and bending the knees give the impression that women were unbalanced, unfounded, and uncentered. Then smiling was a form of inferiority because it accepts the action of others, and weakness because it doesn't have the attitude to attack or prepare for an attack. Broadly speaking, the image of woman represented in the ritualization of subordination was powerless, accepting subordination, not having a power, and being dependent. License withdrawal, characterized by hands covering mouth or face, turning one's gaze, playing with fingers, or woman was baying behind a person or object. The image of woman that was reflected in looking away is that women respond to their emotion in a hidden way, so that women seem to withdraw from social situation in order to control their emotions. Finally, women playing with their fingers an expression of self-communication that casts the image that women were weakened figures. Body display can be seen by women wear dresses that showing several parts of their bodies, such as the neck, shoulders, nape, chest, back, to arms and thighs. Besides that, the women in the poster also displayed poses that were sexually inviting, seen from their poses in the ritualization of subordination and the use of their fingers in feminine touch. Women in the media were sweeteners, compliments, or even satisfaction of sexual fantasies. Women also function to persuade and influence someone's action, to buy an object, and have a role in creating the image of a brand. Then, with the rise of waitresses in 1920s, along with cafes and bars was grew, there was a commercialization of the image of women in Japanese beer posters advertisement. Japanese beer advertisement posters for period 1920 until 1940, waitresses in Japan whose beer advertisements have the image of being more inferior than men.